What's going on, race fans? This is Alex, and this is Eileen, and this is It's Lights Out F1 podcast. And today we're talking Azerbaijan.
No, Azerbaijan.
There it is.
Baku.
Baku GP,
Yes.
Grand Prix, F1. First, before we get started, do we have our wine that we need?
We do, yes.
Okay.
Rosé.
Rosé.
Rosé all day.
Rosé all day. Or watered down red wine.
We need it after. We need it after today.
Yeah. So what a race, really. I mean, suspenseful. I wish there was more laps after the restart. 2 wasn't enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think it was enough for anyone else either. So.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely crazy. I'm like, what a race. Oh my God.
I know. But before we go there, let's dial it back because it was a good week and there was a lot of action. There were practices. There was a lot of running off, and this is a tight street course. So some were hit the wall, and some made it lucky and ran into the overflow or the runoff.
The
area.
runoff track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And had to put it in reverse. Some had issues with reverse. Some definitely clearly knew reverse was.
Yeah.
So there was lots of things going on this weekend, and it was pretty eventful. But really, mostly talking about qualifying and 4 red flags.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah. It seemed very excessive. It was 4 red flags, but then it was like every single second there was a yellow flag in some sector. It almost just felt like people couldn't even get laps in. So it was definitely a challenge.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Kept it interesting. You almost had to go like immediately. You couldn't wait to get out on the track because you just didn't know what was going to happen. If you didn't get a lap in, then it would be an issue for you.
So then Bottas probably then had the most issue. The biggest issue, I should say, because he was out front, gave everybody a tow, especially in Q3, and it seemed like everybody behind him was just getting the fastest lap or, being on pole or,
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up, trying to set himself up for a fast lap for his second run, and then
Ricardo crashed in Q3. Yeah, that's what ended the session. So, yeah, no, it's interesting, too, with qualifying because Lewis gave Leclerc the tow, and then he got pole position.
Yeah.
And then Hamilton got it from Bottas, and he ended up in P2. So it's interesting. But, yeah, no, I feel like we saw that all weekend. But Valtteri was really struggling anyways. Actually, Mercedes was in general. I mean, come on. Like,
Sure.
Practice 3 prior to qualifying, I think they ended both, 13 and, 17. It was crazy. So, which is interesting.
Something like that. I don't know the exact number, but you're right. Something
Yeah.
like that. But then Ferrari was looking fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 weekends in a row.
So then Leclerc takes pole on his first run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they looked good. Red Bull, of course, looked good. I'm like, what else? Lando looked good again, but then he ended up with the penalty, which seemed a little extreme.
Yeah, and then he ended up getting 3 points even on his super license. And that sucks.
I think they're trying to fight it, though.
Yeah.
Because it seems a little ridiculous.
But whatever. It even happened again in the race to Giovanni.
No, Latifi.
Was it Latifi?
Mhm.
Okay, it was Latifi. See, she knows what I mean.
I pay attention to those things.
What's going on? Anyway, so Ferrari was pole, and we had Hamilton, and we had Verstappen, and right behind him was Gasly, who actually placed pretty good. That was the best he's ever done. Again, placing 4th.
Yeah, he matched his best performance, so that was good. He was fast. I mean, I think he was top in practice 3, right? Yeah, if I remember correctly. So
let me see.
he was on pace very,
He was.
Yeah, and Tsunoda was up there too, which was, crazy to see. Rookie performance. So,
yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, he still got an attitude on that radio, though.
He likes to swear, that's for sure.
I don't know. He's even rude to his guys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's just probably just his personality, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He's just being direct, and I get it. Yeah. Okay, sure.
But it was, I would say, I feel like I've been saying this for this whole season. Mercedes has really struggled in the tourney sections. the turny ones.
The slower turn, higher downforce areas of the tracks.
They really drop it. But, I mean, I think Lewis was purple sector and on the straightaway so every single time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, he's got a very aerodynamic, fast car.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get into the race. So right at the start, Leclerc had the lead. And honestly, compared to previous years here in Baku, clean. There was a little bit of touching near the backfield, just a little bit, but it was clean.
Yeah, once again, I thought there was going to be like craziness.
Yeah.
And there wasn't.
Turn 1, clean. Turn 3, clean.
Turn 15, which is where everybody crashed in qualifying.
Clean.
I'm like, very clean. So,
yeah, I was surprised. And I guess it made for a good race right off the top because the top 3 were kind of battling, staying within a second, staying right outside of a second. And then we had DRS, which kind of helped a little bit. And then next thing you know, we had
Hamilton
took the lead.
Yeah, and he overtook Leclerc without DRS. It was lap 2.
That's
it was
correct.
Only 2 laps in. But it was on the straight where he's fast.
So within 2 laps, Leclerc was already
Slipstream,
so the pace wasn't even really there for Ferrari right off the bat, and it showed.
Yeah.
But, so Hamilton took the lead after lap 2, had it for a few minutes for a while.
No, yeah, for a little bit. And then lost it once they pitted. Yeah.
Because that created a nice situation. It created a nice situation for Max. It created a nice situation for Perez. Created a nice situation for Vettel as well.
Yeah, it definitely did. And it's just interesting. I feel like Lewis, last week, well, not last weekend, but last race in Monaco had, all the memes about him being stuck behind Gasly. And the reason his pit stop was so poor was because Gasly, of all people, was going by and they had to hold him up. So his pit was slow. And so definitely, coming back out on the track, he was pretty far back. And he even said that, like, why is he so far in front of me?
So then let me ask you this. So if he wasn't even held up by Gasly in the pit, would he have been in front of Max?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think he would have been closer. So it might have been, because Perez was able to, overcut or undercut. I don't know. I'm not good with that, but he was able to get in front of him after he pitted the following lap. So I'm like, I think if his pit stop wouldn't have been an issue, he wouldn't have been passed by Perez, which Perez, held him up pretty solid for Max. So
yeah.
But Perez had a bad pit stop too compared to Red Bull. I mean, Max,
for a Red Bull pit stop, it wasn't its best. You're right.
Perez's was 4.3 and Lewis was 4.6, but Max was 1.9. So it's just interesting. So I mean, obviously, there's a few things that went into it, but Perez was still able to get out in front of Lewis. So
yeah. So then
they were quick.
Yeah. So then pit stops happened, a little bit of change, and then. A couple of people early started with some hard tires. Some people went in after the first lap and went on some hard tires. And so not even that long into the race, Stroll's tire
Stroll started on the hard tires, remember, because he crashed. He was one of the red flags in qualifying.
Yeah.
And so he went out and he started on the hard tires, which I think he was the only person to start on the hard tires. So I think he had 28 laps, I think, in on those tires, or maybe I know that Max had 29. But yeah, no, so it was fairly fresh, and I mean, they were saying that they were supposed to go up to 40 laps on those tires, so
yeah,
major issue.
So we don't really know here. Obviously, we're here in the United States. We just are listening and watching, and we don't know if it was a piece of carbon fiber. We don't know if it was just tire wear and it just went. It could have been both. It could have been one or the other. I don't know. We'll find out this week, I hope.
Yeah, they're doing an investigation now, so we'll see what happens. But
yeah, so then that caused...
needless to say, he crashed. His, rear left tire went out.
Yeah, so that caused the safety car, that one. They couldn't pit. It was right in front of the pit lane, so pit lane was closed, so no one could benefit from that happening. Which I guess a blessing and a curse. I guess it kept the race kind of interesting, honestly, because if it was been open, people might not have been on that hard tire anymore, or I don't know. Things might have changed.
Well, Max had at that point prior to the crash, he had like an 8-second lead on Lewis.
Yeah.
So it really closed the gap because
Yeah.
he was like out in front.
Yeah,
solid.
I mean, he had good help with Perez being in second and really trying to do his thing and setting the pace and kind of slowing Lewis up just a little bit. I think if you go and look, you'll see that probably happened. And we all know how good Perez is on saving the tires. So that's that and his pace. He probably was able to keep Lewis back a little.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And then out of nowhere.
No, I mean, there's a lot more that happened. But, I mean, let's talk about Vettel, okay, for a quick second before we get into the
on the
second part of drama.
On the restart of the Stroll crash, Vettel was able to benefit, and he ended up taking, I think, past one or two people right away and jumped up.
Yeah, I think he passed 2 people, but let's remember that Vettel started in 11th. He just missed out on Q3 and was like totally devastated. Like I remember listening to his radio. And for me, I'm like, I haven't really seen Vettel in his glory days. So, it was really exciting to see him, taking charge and, moving forward. And he was driver of the day last weekend. And, because he was able to overtake on a track that is very difficult. And so that was pretty exciting. But, yeah, no, I mean, he was in P11, and he had already made some moves and was, up ahead. I think at that point with the safety car, he ended up in 5th after he was able to overtake a few. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but something like that. But he was on the charge, so it was good to see. But so that happened. That was, some stuff going on. What else?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, there's so much that happened. Carlos spun out.
Spun out. Yep. Hi. It's our dog.
And then I'm like, I feel like there was something before the last 3 laps. Oh my God, it was just like, Max was just running away with the race.
Running away. I was like, right.
He's got it in the bag, and I'm like, here I am. I'm like, okay, well, he's going to win. It's going to be Red Bull 1-2 because Lewis just could not get past Sergio. And he was admitting it. He's like, I can't keep up with him in the middle sector.
Sure. So you talk about Lewis's radio. I think I'm assuming everything he says, the exact opposite. He's just a mind game player to me. Well, she calls me a hater because I was like, we'll talk about it in a minute. But she calls me a hater on Lewis, and I'm not. I like Lewis. God. I have a fan. I think he deserves every championship he's gotten. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyways.
Let's just get that out there, okay? I mean, okay, whatever. So Max had it in the bag. It was like, oh, God, here we go. And, that's all we've been hearing about. And, I mean, it was just interesting because even the commentators, it was like all weekend, like Mercedes, they're not even going to make it into Q3.
They were,
a lot of negativity. Yeah. And it's interesting because if it's any other team other than Mercedes, like they're really not nagging on him that hard. So, so whatever. So Max is running away with it.
But it's kind of funny because you're like, in qualifying, right when qualifying was over, you're like, see how the announcers attitude changed for Mercedes?
It did. It totally did. It was like, I remember exactly going into probably Q1. It was like they had all these stats on how Mercedes has never not made it to Q3. We don't even know if they're going to make it out of Q1, because practice 3 was difficult and they were looking rough this weekend. And they've obviously admitted that. But then Lewis comes out on the charge and oh, God, look at Mercedes. Look at how Lewis drives. And it's like, wow, they really changed their tune quick.
Yeah, I guess that's just broadcasting at its finest. They're trying to keep everyone entertained.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. But anyways.
And I'm a fan of all those guys. I like their commentary. You're like, man, they're jazzed up.
Oh, my God, they were honestly jazzed today. Really jazzed.
I mean, they were jazzed up for qualifying, too.
They were going to spill their tea in the announcement room, which they're always saying. Oh, my God, it's so crazy. Yeah, especially the last 3 laps. It was like,
So then anyway, Max Verstappen, like you said before, sorry to stop you before, but Max Verstappen was leading the race, pulling away again. And all of a sudden, cut to him on the straightaway and Wall hitting the wall.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say, don't say it was hitting the wall. It was all of a sudden his tire blew. Same thing, same exact thing, but going 200 miles an hour. Well, actually, it was the same area that Stroll crashed. So
Yeah, just a little bit farther down past the pit lane. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably going faster.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, of course he's the race leader, but it was crazy. You, I think, got up and were like, oh my God, no.
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to see, honestly, Lewis and him back and forth battling. And,
Well, yeah.
and it being fair. And, like, so that's what I want to see. I don't want to see somebody getting the win just because a tire failed when it was it was not driver error.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's interesting, though, because before he crashed, I feel like they did the analysis on Lewis and Sergio's tires.
I saw that. They had him up on the side there.
Yeah, and their tires were in really bad condition. They were both left and right tires in the back were at 10%. Both of theirs. And so, I feel like it's obviously, interesting that it's both cars had the same issue with the same tire, but it's kind of like Red Bull saying, oh, we had no idea, but
yeah, so one of their tire analysis or one of their engineers definitely was watching the sheets and probably said, look, we had no indication. Everything was optimal and ready to rock. Everything was fine.
I guess you think about it, too, and it's like, 10%, there's 3 laps left. Should definitely take you there.
I would say, yeah. I mean, you could even probably coast just a little bit with 3 laps with how their situation was. They were 1 and 2.
Yeah. No, and it's not like he was like pushing or craziness. So, yeah, it was definitely devastating for him. You were gutted.
I was.
In the words of George Russell,
utterly gutted.
Yeah, definitely devastating for him because he was racing well. It was good, but
yeah, it was upsetting. So they red flagged it. They brought everybody in except for there was an issue. Someone kept going.
Well, it was an issue because Latifi's engineer told him, like, stay out. And he's like, so he stayed out when they were supposed to keep going around but go through the pit lane and go through. He didn't do that, so he stayed on the track, and I think, whatever truck that goes and gets the cars was out. And so he was like...
So he's going to get points on his super license then, too.
No, well, really?
Yeah, that's what everything that you do when you get 10-second penalties, 5-second penalties, usually ends up getting a point or whatever it is.
Seems kind of crazy. Like, nobody was going to be hurt, whatever. But, I mean...
Well, that's the thing is because back in the day, people were hurt and people ran into those trucks and people died.
Yeah.
So that's why they do it, and that's why they take safety so seriously.
Yeah, no, true. But it was interesting because he did say, stay out means stay out on the track.
Yeah, and you're right. And
I would probably do the same thing.
I would probably do too. I'm being told in my head, I'm going X amount of speed. Yeah, I'm probably slowing down. Yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, it's on the driver. Yeah, so Max got in the accident because of the tire, and it caused a red flag, which then allowed everybody to go into the pit, and everyone was able to change their tires. Lewis
got a new front end. He had a little debris, little damage.
Yeah, we noticed they showed the coverage of his front wing just a little messed up, so they got to change all that. Thanks to Max.
Yeah, 3 laps left, and it's interesting because, typically you see people come in on the last lap going for the extra, point, fastest lap or whatever, which at this point Max had the fastest lap. So now that he's out, he wasn't going to be eligible for the point. The funny thing was Valtteri he pitted to put on soft tires, when it was just a yellow flag, because it was just a yellow flag. And they're like, why is he going in for soft tires? He can't, he was not eligible to get the extra point anyways because he was in 13th at that point.
I think maybe strategically they were thinking with that timing, everyone's slowing down, maybe he can go and gain a couple of spots.
No, I think they were probably we don't want our tires to blow.
Maybe that too.
Just considering, but But yeah, so whatever. The race red flagged.
Yep.
Very fitting for the weekend. And
yeah. So everyone got to change their tires. We saw that the Red Bulls pit lane, they talked to the FIA and suggested that they had to red flag it and get everyone to check.
Because we didn't know what was going to happen, just considering like Stroll had it. It was just a yellow flag, even though Stroll was like, red flag, like he was calling it himself. But we thought maybe they'd just finish the race under like a safety car. You know, there's only 3 laps left. But
yeah, I think the old F1 would have done it under a safety car.
Yeah.
Would have finished the race.
Well, we saw that last year. I'm like,
Sure.
I remember seeing a race where they finished under the safety
Yeah,
car.
yeah. But Liberty is the company that owns F1 now, and I would say they're definitely trying to get more suspense, the fans more interact. I mean, I'm doing surveys a lot because I'm a huge fan and I'm giving them my input. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw that directly play into today's event. Well, 3 laps left, and they did a grid or a standing start.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Red Bull actually requested it. They were like, we really think that you should red flag the race. We've already had 2 racers that have had the same tire issue, the same one. And everybody at that point was on hards pretty much because they all had the same strategy. It was, they all started on softs. They all went on hards. They're going to race them to the end, a 1 pit stop strategy. So they were like, this is going to happen to other people, and you guys should really consider that. So I think that was the biggest influence into it. I mean, but I'm sure it definitely.
You think it would have happened under a safety car finish, 3 laps under safety car? You think the tire would have gone? I don't know. Again, that would have been, I think, the old F1 would have just finished it under a safety car.
Yeah.
But we are in the new era. We're in an era where we want people and more suspense and more and more and more and more and more.
What did it for us, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it left, like I said earlier in our show, we wanted more laps.
Yeah. Oh,
it was a true sprint race right then at the end there, and I could have gone for like 5 more laps.
Oh my God.
How nice would that have been in 5,
Yeah, I know. A lot could have happened.
I know.
That's for sure.
I think that's why Formula One is going to introduce sprint racing for Formula One. It's going to be before the feature race, which is absolutely how it should be. The main race, the GP on Sunday, is the main event, and that's really what it should always be. But we should always have something else, too, where they're not, kind of just doing the pace to get the longevity out of the tires, out of the gas, out of the car, like really pushing it. And like when you really push it for a quick sprint, you see more carnage. Mm-hmm. And
well, it will be interesting too because it might actually shake up a little bit of who's going to win because as you see in practice and qualifying, a lot of teams are fast at a shorter period of time, but race pace wise, they're slower. Like Ferrari, for example.
Yeah.
And, I hate to say that, but, like, after Leclerc took pole, I was like,
man, they can put down one run, though.
Yeah, no, and they definitely can, but then they always fall off pace. So it's interesting. So that, and then, we're totally off subject, but how it's going to affect the actual day. Like, will it, are they going to be tired, because of races, it's, your mind, your body, everything. It's a lot. So what's the actual, Grand Prix going to look like? And then also from like our perspective, if they go like every race in the future, is it going to change ticket prices? Because it's already really expensive to go. So now that there's going to be 2 races, is it going to be more money for the fans? But
I don't know. Maybe, probably at the end of the day. So we got 3 laps left, and they're going to do a standing start, essentially a grid start. And she found out that the installation lap, the formation lap, counted as a lap.
Yeah, but it doesn't count during the formation lap, so I'm like...
Because they account for that with the gasoline, and they didn't account for 2 formation laps with gas.
True.
So cars would have been out of gas completely.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got the standing start. We got 5 lights out. We had Lewis in the inside lane in a really good position.
Well, we got to talk about Lewis's radio, which, we're talking about, his mind games or his messages or whatever.
Yeah.
So... before basically, he lines up and then he comes over the radio and he says, it's a marathon, not a sprint, or it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
And Toto
And
and Bono go, totally
Bono
agree.
first. Oh, I totally agree with you, Lewis. And then Toto's like, yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. And I'm like, sometimes you can't really hear the whole message, so I couldn't hear what he said after the it's a sprint, not a marathon.
So just hearing that, what do you think that meant to you? What do you think that meant to him? That he was just gonna he was gonna take it easy and just take second?
No. What I thought, my takeaway when he initially said it was, because it makes total sense now what you said, but my initial takeaway was, okay, Max DNF'd, he's getting points, he's going to be leading again, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. So anything can happen, for the rest of the season. That's how I took it, but I guess it makes more sense for your thought of it. So
yeah, I mean, these guys are going for it all. I mean, he wants the 25 points or nothing at all.
Yeah, you know what though, and people are they're shaming him right now because he went for it and he shouldn't have went for it and blah blah blah. But that's the sport.
Yeah, these guys are athletes,
what?
A-type personality. They're going for that gap. And they're going for it.
And if he didn't go for it, then they would have something to say about that.
I'm going for it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And you know what? Kudos to him for trying. But anyway, so let's talk about what happened. So his brakes are on fire.
Yeah, so they're lined up. Brakes are hot, smoking. 5 lights out. Lewis on the inside. And Perez kind of tries to cut him off. But Lewis had a really good start and got ahead of him a little bit. But definitely jarred him. Perez jarred him or did something because it caused him to either A, brake late, not brake at all, or from what we're seeing now, he hit a button, hit something that did not, it turned off his rear brakes. Now, in F1, rear brakes are used, but they're used not nearly as much. It's mostly all front brakes at the end of the day. I would say it's like 20 or 30% is their rear brakes. I could be wrong. Some people can totally prove me wrong. Please do. But he switched them off, so he didn't even have that. So that caused his front tires to instantly lock up because he had nothing helping him to stop on the rear. And he went straight. And I've watched it a couple times, and he lucky nobody hit him. Everybody was able to kind of go around.
Well, he was in front. So
he was in front, and he kind of locked up, and everyone braked and just kind of went behind him and watched him sail away. Everyone kind of waved bye to him as he left.
Oh my God! I bet you people were like, "What's happening right now?" No, and he did it perfect in the runoff too. He didn't have to do reverse. He went through like a professional.
Yeah, and so it pretty much put him in the back of the pack. I jumped up. I was kind of happy because I kind of knew what was going to come.
There's no way you're going to make it back. There's one lap left after that.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so I already knew the message that they went through. He was going to go for it. He was going to give it everything he got, and he messed up. He even went on the radio, and Lewis said, it was my fault. I made the mistake.
Yeah, he's sorry.
He's sorry, and we're gonna probably find out it probably really was. He probably did hit a button, and
I mean, you can tell looking at the pictures that his rear brakes don't lock up. It's just you just see it from the front, and I'm sure because he was pushing it, he was braking late, and then realizing that it's like, oh shit, like this is crazy. So
yeah,
but. That's Lewis. And then, so right after that, we had the excitement for P3, and that was great.
Yeah. Leclerc and Gasly had a little bit of a battle. There was an overtake by Leclerc. He had DRS. But then I think Gasly kind of fell back in the slipstream real quick and then was able to brake later and really took that spot back. And they were battling for a few turns back and forth, and it was really –
I feel like it was three overtakes.
I was jazzed up for those last 2 laps. I really wish –
and you were like, here comes Lando, and with his nickname, Last Lap Lando. So.
Last Lap Lando. And she's like, what does that mean? I had to break it down for her because a while ago, I think it was the first race 2 years ago, he, on the last lap, passed like 6 people. It was an incredible last lap.
Yeah.
And
he was on the charge.
Yeah, and he definitely was trying to, but Leclerc was playing defense because he was pushing so hard on Gasly, so Lando got in the mix.
Yeah.
But we ended up finishing with Perez, Vettel, Gasly.
Yeah.
And good to see Vettel back up in the podium. We haven't seen him up there in a while. He was struggling when he was on Ferrari a little bit, and now that he's with Aston Martin, he's starting to get his groove back. Honestly, it looks like. Perez, his first Red Bull podium, his first
Red Bull win.
win. Yeah.
No, it was a good weekend. But we can't end without saying Perez's car died at the finish line.
Oh yeah, so
one more lap, Red Bull would be KO,
like
Mercedes.
There was no more one lap for Perez. We saw that.
His car was they're congratulating him. Great job, Checo. And then his engineers, turn the car off. Like it's gonna blow up.
Yeah. So he gave it everything. He ran that car to the grave.
Yeah.
And good for him. Good on him. I'm a huge fan, and I'm proud.
Yeah, it was a good podium.
She asked, and I teared up. I kept saying no, but
he's been emotional at the last two races.
Sports, man.
In Monaco, it was really emotional to see
get me.
Lando and Carlos and their bromance together. But
yeah, it's just good to see. I like good victory. I like to see everything. I was really disappointed and, like I said, gutted, heartbroken, however you want to say it, about Max, and then. Then Lewis doing what he did, and again, it doesn't change the driver standings too much. It kind of keeps it the same. And, thinking about it and dwelling on it now, even if Lewis would have won or took second or even took third or whatever, he would have been in the lead, but he wouldn't have been in the lead by that much, and it still would have been a fighting chance, and it still would have been a good fight.
Irregardless, it's still going to be a fight. It's only round 6.
Honestly, if anything, it's making it possibly a better fight, because now it's bringing the midfield a little bit closer. Mm-hmm. And something happens to those two again, the midfield even gets closer. Mm-hmm. And
a lot of changes in the driver's standings today too. A lot of changes in general, even with the teams too. Ferrari overtook McLaren. Bottas was in 4th. Norris was in 3rd moving into this weekend.
Yes.
Now Perez, after the win, is in 3rd. Bottas is down in 6th now.
That's
after
correct.
A tough couple, and we were talking about it. He's had 3 DNFs this season, and
3 out of 6 races. So
not 3 DNFs, 3 0-point races.
3 0 points. So he's
batting 50.
50.
It's definitely tough. But it's exciting to see. I'm like, it's definitely a lot closer because Max and Lewis are at like 105 and 101 or whatever. Yeah. And then the rest of them are like 69, 64, and it's tight in there. So.
Yeah, and I'd say the biggest difference is now in the Constructors' Cup. Red Bull is kind of pulling away just a little bit more on that one.
Yeah,
still within
24
grasp,
points,
but definitely got extra points. More points than Red Bull or than Mercedes this weekend. Anything else you want to talk about this weekend?
Well, the only thing we need to figure out, and we'll just leave it as a question, is we don't know what happened to George Russell at the end.
Oh, yes.
And it's making me crazy, but basically it was he just pulled into the pit lane and it was just puttering down, and then they closed the pit lane, which we saw the second time we were watching it. It was like, so I'm assuming his car broke down and he ended up there, but just another tough situation for him. But yeah, very excited.
I wonder what happened.
To see what happens. And our triple header
is coming up in 2 weeks.
So Father's Day is our next race, June 20th. So then we got 3 races in a row. So
and we're in France,
and then Austria twice. So
at the Red Bull ring.
Red Bull's home.
Yes.
Which is where Valtteri typically does well. So we shall see.
Yep. We shall see. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and then we, like she said, have a triple header. So it's 3 episodes in a row.
We'll be seeing you a lot, that's for sure.
This was a long one. We had a lot to talk about. It was a good race. If you haven't seen it, only seen us and we spoiled it for you, go watch it.
Yeah. You'll be jazzed. That's our motto for the day.
I think, honestly, it's one of those races that you want to watch, and it'll get you and fall in love with Formula One because it had a lot of going on.
And there's a castle in it.
And there's a castle, and she likes that. And she's like, does anyone live in the castle?
Who lives in the castle?
I know I could probably Google it, but if anyone could answer that, who lives in the Baku castle?
Yeah. Is it royalty? Is it the president? It's literally in the middle of a city.
All right. So that's all I got. That's all you got?
That's all we got for
all
today.
Right. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.